All right, so we're here in game number 3 now between Serral and AlphaStar. The same map, the same positions. AlphaStar, the bottom right, as Protoss. Serral, the top right, as Zerg. The openings are very, very similar, so I just want to jump ahead in the replay to the two adepts that have been very interesting for us so far here. So let's go ahead and start with them. So here the two adepts are shading again. Basically the same location, the same idea coming up. Serral a little bit more ready for it this time. Now coming down to block the adepts from walking all the way up to the drones. But this is only 3 Zerglings, right? So the others are chasing the shades. They want to stay on top of these shades so that when they finish, they can start attacking the adepts immediately so that the adepts can't get drones. But there is a small mistake here. Let's slow this down to talk about it. So Serral realizes and turns around with these Zerglings that the adepts can deal with these 3 Zerglings quickly enough and then cancel the shade. And if these follow the shades all the way in, for instance, if these kept going, they'd be about here right now. And if he cancels at the last second, then the adepts have free reign over these drones and can get a lot of damage done. So Serral actually turns around with the Zerglings, comes back down, and does force that shade into the main. Now, that is a little bit better block from Serral that time for sure, but does end up taking more damage than he wants, obviously. And with the harassment ending, again, 3:32 on the clock, the very same time, basically every single time. Let's take a look at the damage. 4 drones killed, so 1 less than last game, 2 more than the first game. You know, these are kind of a big deal, though. I think that if Serral is, you know, in a perfect setup, he probably is losing 1 to 2 drones most of the time here, especially after playing multiple games against AlphaStar. He'll get that damage way, way down. Taking a look, it is 25 drones right now. So Serral's made quite a few lings, has lost quite a few drones. Not the best opening for him. AlphaStar continues to do a good job with those initial adepts. So the Oracle on the way. So kind of threatening with those Zerglings. And AlphaStar once again going for that very, very quick third base. Just very common things that we're seeing. These Zerglings trying to get in. The second adept did finish making, so it'll come down to the defense there. This Oracle going in for some harassment at the same time. Again, all stuff that we've seen before. Now this is where it gets a little bit different. Serral throwing down his Roach Warren right now. Taking a look at that drone count, 35. Looks like it's going to be a pretty aggressive play here from Serral. Now, as is normally the case from AlphaStar, the harassment will not stop. We see a couple of adepts there, shading around. 3 oracles getting ready to try to run in and deal some damage. Seeing the 3 queens and the spore, no point in going in there any further. That's kind of a defensive shade from AlphaStar. There's not a lot of value to be gained over here. And AlphaStar did see that queens had already walked up this way, so shading towards that natural expansion is not likely to do very much. Just trying to get a little bit of damage at that third base while safely evacuating those adepts. You can see that Serral is making 6 roaches, so Serral is very serious about getting some damage done this game. Let's look at what AlphaStar is up to. The Forge, as always, getting that +1 attack to improve all of its units. Getting an Immortal as well. The third base is up. AlphaStar continues to try to get that harassment damage done. Now, this is a very important moment. The 2 shades that are going to see if they can find some way in. actually spot what's coming out of out of Serral's base right now. And this is kind of a peculiar time to have all these units walking this way. And as it shades up and sees 2 more roaches, you really can't be mistaken at this point that Serral is going to attack you. And this is such an early attack that this is generally something that will call an all-in. It's something where, I guess, similar to poker, where you push all your chips in the center, you kind of have to win with it. You don't get a whole lot of chances otherwise. Right now, looking at this, Serral, he has less than 2 base economy. He's making a lot of units. He's made a lot of queens early on. We see no upgrades being made. As far as buildings, there's no layer on the way as well. So there's just not a lot of follow-up strategy potential here for Serral. Serral must do damage with this. So we'll see how AlphaStar ends up defending here. Looking back at AlphaStar's base. Photon cannon at the 3rd base on the way. Warping in a few more adepts here. AlphaStar actually does end up shading and trying to get more damage done. Doesn't really get very much. Gets 1 or 2 drones with this, and that's it. More cannons at that 3rd base. But, like I mentioned in one of the previous videos here, Serral making these Ravagers. The Ravagers can defeat cannons very easily. They do have that long-range Corrosive Bile to take them down without taking any damage. The Queens are coming up. They do have an ability called Transfusion. So it looks like 2 on this, 1 on this, and 2 on this. So 5 transfusions available. That's a very strong healing spell. Oh, another Queen coming, and it's got almost 50 energy. So when it gets that, which will be before the attack even begins, it looks like about 6 transfusions. So a lot of healing can be done here by Serral. As far as AlphaStar's healing, we don't see any shield batteries as of yet. So no real healing going on, but a couple sentries, which of course can throw down force fields, which are very, very valuable. A single immortal so far, a 2nd immortal on the way. And there is that robotics bay. Still not skipping it. See if that comes into play. The Oracle's at home ready as well. So you see Serral just continually making units to send across the map. And here comes this attack. It's beginning now. Serral already dealing some damage to that Immortal to trigger the Hardened Shield. It's definitely a good move. The Hardened Shield just kind of ups the defense of the Immortal for a limited amount of time, about 2 seconds. So some good micro on both sides already. Let me slow this down a little bit. We saw AlphaStar really focus on trying to take down a Ravager, but Serral instantly healed it to make sure it lived through that. Of course, the Queens are the only anti-air here. If the Queens were not here, the Oracles could actually reign supreme and really ruin this attack. But the Queens have a lot of health at 175, and they can heal each other. So it's very hard to make these Oracles work correctly at the beginning of the battle. So Serral looking pretty strong here. What Serral just tried to do was run the Zerglings around and trap some of these units. If you can trap the units so that they can't move, then the Corrosive Biles can be launched out and actually land and deal a huge amount of damage to the army. Now Serral does get up here and try to throw down some Corrosive Biles. Unfortunately for him, AlphaStar does get out of the way and goes behind the wall. You can see that this is a very large, very scary army right now. And AlphaStar does not really have all that much. The 2 Immortals are still alive, which is very, very important. A couple sentries, another one on the way. These 2 sentries don't have any energy left for force fielding. This one's going to have 1 force field. It's looking a little bit scary for AlphaStar. Now, this part's very interesting. Serral decides to go ahead and send Zerglings to the 3rd base. A lot of times, at the 3rd base, there will be something like a shield battery there. Maybe 2 shield batteries there, but not even cannons. Again, the cannons are kind of an odd thing that really only AlphaStar does. So the Zerglings being sent down won't be able to do anything at all to this base. These cannons will easily get rid of those Zerglings. In the meantime, Serral utilizing his range units to hit the wall. The thing is, this move makes a lot of sense. You want the range units to pick off things at the wall. If you send your melee units, the Zerglings, up against the wall, then all the units behind will just shoot them, and they'll take free losses. So it's a smart move by Serral, but AlphaStar's cannons actually really kind of saved the day here. So the Zerglings run up. They're not going to find anything. They're going to run back in just a second. Serral trying to put the damage out. See, just pelting the wall right now. Some additional force fields going down. A shield battery has been warped in. Another one's on the way. So getting a little bit of healing done here as well for AlphaStar. So some of the Zerglings did end up getting lost. Throwing down those corrosive biles to get rid of the force fields. Now watch this, right? AlphaStar is in a very defensive posture, sitting back behind the wall, trying to buy time right now. That's very important to buy time. AlphaStar needs some more units. It needs it needs a lot here to actually take down this army. So Serral decides, okay, it's time to go down here and just destroy this base. So since there's only a single pylon powering these cannons, Serral can easily run down, kill that off with the Ravagers and kill that base. But watch how AlphaStar plays this. As Serral retreats from this choke, AlphaStar immediately pushes out, immediately. And look at where AlphaStar goes. These queens, they're very, very slow off of creep. So they're taking a lot of additional damage right now, having to utilize transfuses on each other. Right now, throwing down some force fields here. AlphaStar trying to slow this army from coming back up to attack its army. You notice some biles were thrown down, but not quite enough at this third base as of yet, because they did have to come up to protect the queens. Again, if the queens were to die here, then the oracles would reign supreme and they could wipe out the Ravagers for the most part. So this was a very important moment for Serral to come back up. He couldn't just stay there and fight off the third base because the queens would go. So once again, as Serral's full force comes up, AlphaStar runs back behind the wall. Trying to reduce the surface area, trying to get behind things for his army. And now Serral, once again, checking down here. Nope, the pylon is not dead. Runs back with the Zerglings. The queens getting lower on health, getting lower on energy. AlphaStar getting rid of this back queen. Throws down a force field here. You can see the transfusions having to be used on the queens. Serral needs to keep those alive. The anti-air capabilities are very, very important right now. And once again, as the army comes down to try to deal with this third base, AlphaStar immediately darts out from behind the wall. Going after those queens once again. AlphaStar has bought so much time at this point that since this battle has started, a second Immortal finished, a Prism finished, and a Disruptor is now out. And with that Disruptor, look at that, one of the last queens goes down. Suddenly, the Oracles turn into the battle, and start dealing some damage. Some of them don't have that much energy right now, but just that little bit extra from the sky going to force Serral to turn around and run. And look at that, the base is still left alive. Now, some of the probes were killed off. 12 workers killed here by Serral. But when you look at that worker tab, look at that, 38 drones, that is less than 2 base economy, against 51 probes, more than 2 base economy. So AlphaStar definitely has an advantage there. The layer right now, only halfway done, so no higher tech units are going to be available for quite some time. Whereas AlphaStar continues to get very powerful units like the Disruptor out. Still has both of the Immortals, still has some sentries out here as well. Can easily build a pylon to repower these cannons and keep this base safe and start mining from it once again as well. So a very strong hold. The Oracles regaining their energy, continue to attack the Ravagers and force them back out. And Serral, having not done enough damage with this all in a dire situation. AlphaStar being really aware of its position, I think, here. Just immediately counterattacking. And that's it. As Serral sees it coming, he knows that there is no way to stop AlphaStar. And that is the last AlphaStar versus Serral Protoss versus Zerg game. And AlphaStar won all 3 of them.